In 1962, the United States was drowning in mail. Skyscrapers were vomiting millions of letters, suburbs were exploding, and the old system of human memory was collapsing under the weight of 180 million people. This is the story of how the post office used a simple five-digit number to stop a national crisis. Before we dive into today's story, make sure you're subscribed, because trust me, you won't want to miss the twist I have coming tomorrow. Chapter 16, Mr. Zip and the Invention of the Zip Code, 1963. The year is 1962. The United States is a nation drowning in its own success. As we saw in the previous chapter, the post-war boom had created a tidal wave of paper. The mail volume was doubling every 20 years. The skyscrapers of New York were vomiting millions of letters a day. The suburbs were exploding like ink on a blotting pad, creating thousands of new streets, new avenues, and new cul-de-sacs every month. The old system, the system of the railway mail clerk who memorized the map of the country in his head, was collapsing. The human brain is a magnificent instrument, but it has limits. A clerk could memorize the 3,000 towns in a state. He could know that a letter addressed to Podunk goes on the train to Central City, but he could not memorize every street in every suburb of every city in a nation of 180 million people. The mail was stopping. It was piling up in the mountains of the sorting rooms. It was being delayed by days, sometimes weeks. Chapter 16 of our history is the story of how the post office saved itself with a simple, elegant idea: the number. It is the story of how we stopped sorting by names and started sorting by logic. It is the story of the Zone Improvement Plan, ZIP. And, perhaps most delightfully, it is the story of a stick figure who became more famous than the president. To understand the revolution, we must first look at the logic of the 5 digits. The father of this logic was a postal inspector named Robert Moon. He was a quiet, studious man. For 20 years, he had argued that the only way to handle the volume was to break the country down into a grid. Before 1963, if you sent a letter, you wrote Mrs. Jane Smith, 123 Maple Street, Philadelphia, 4, Penn. That 4 was a postal zone, a system invented in the 1940s for big cities, but it wasn't enough. It didn't tell the clerks in Chicago how to get to Philadelphia. The zip code proposed a funnel, a numerical funnel that would guide a letter from the widest region to the most specific block. Let us visualize the anatomy of the code. Let us take the zip code 10001. The first digit, 1. The national area. The country was sliced into 10 great geographic regions, numbered 0 to 9. The 0 was the Northeast, New England. The 1 was New York and Pennsylvania. The 2 was the Mid-Atlantic. The numbers swept westward across the map, growing larger as the sun set. The 9 was the West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington. The second and third digits, 00, meant the hub. These numbers identified a Sectional Facility Center, or SCF. This was a new concept. The post office stopped trying to send mail from every town to every other town. Instead, they created huge processing hubs. The letters 00 meant the main distribution center for New York City. If the digits were 902, it meant the hub in Los Angeles. The fourth and fifth digits, 10, told the hub exactly which local post office or which specific neighborhood station should deliver the letter. 01 might be the general post office. 11 might be Chelsea. It was a language of pure efficiency. With just 5 numbers, a clerk didn't need to know geography. He didn't need to know that Scranton was in Pennsylvania. He just needed to look at the first digit. If it starts with 1, it goes in the chute marked 1. It sounds simple to us now. We live in a world of IP addresses and PIN codes, but in 1963, this was a radical shift in human behavior. The post office was asking the American public to do the work. They were asking people to memorize a number for their own home and to look up the numbers for everyone they wrote to. They anticipated resistance. Americans are an independent people. They do not like being told what to do. They do not like being reduced to a number. There was a fear that this was the beginning of a robotic, dehumanized future. The post office realized they couldn't force people to use the code. They couldn't return mail that lacked it. That would cause a riot. It had to be voluntary. They needed to charm the public. They needed a salesman. They needed Mr. Zip. Mr. Zip is one of the greatest feats of graphic design in government history. Created by an ad agency and refined by a postal artist named Harold Wilcox, he was the antidote to bureaucracy. He was a stick figure. He had no race, no age, and no politics. He had a body like a lightning bolt, indicating speed. He wore a postman's flight cap perched precariously on his round head. He carried a letter in one hand, trailing in the wind. He had wide, saucer eyes and a manic grin. He was pure kinetic energy. On July 1st, 1963, the campaign began. It was a marketing blitz that rivaled the launch of a Hollywood blockbuster. Mr. Zip was everywhere. He was on the side of every mail truck. He was on the top of every mailbox. He was on posters in 40,000 post office lobbies. The post office printed millions of zip code directories, massive phone book-sized volumes that listed the codes for every street in America. They chained them to the tables in the lobbies so people could look up their friends' numbers. But the campaign went deeper into the culture. The post office enlisted the stars. Ethel Merman, the queen of Broadway, recorded a promotional song to the tune of Zip-a-dee-doo. Imagine turning on your radio in 1963 and hearing Ethel's booming voice. Welcome to the zip code. Learn it today. Send your mail out the 5-digit way. For a timely contact with the greatest speed, use the zip code. That's all you need. There were zip code parties. There were beauty pageants, Miss Zip Code. There were lunchboxes for children featuring Mr. Zip. The strategy was brilliant. Get the children. The post office knew that adults were set in their ways, but if they could teach the children that modern people use zip codes, the children would nag their parents. Mr. Zip appeared in comic strips. He appeared in school textbooks. He was friendly, helpful, and fast. He made the zip code feel like a club you wanted to join. The slogan was simple: mail moves the country, zip code moves the mail. Let us step into the atmosphere of July 1963. It is a hot summer. You are standing in a post office in Kansas City. The walls are covered with red, white, and blue posters. A cardboard cutout of Mr. Zip stands by the door, pointing a stick finger at you. A woman is standing at the counter. She is arguing with the clerk. I've been writing to my sister in Omaha for 30 years. The mailman knows where she lives. Why do I have to write these numbers? The clerk, patient and trained for this moment, smiles. It's for speed, ma'am. The mail volume is going up. If you use the code, your letter skips 3 sorting stops. It flies right to the destination. He hands her a zip code kit, a small packet of stickers with her own zip code on them to put on her stationery. Reluctantly, she takes it. She writes the number 68102. It was a slow transition. In the first year, usage was low, but the big businesses, the magazines, the banks, the utility companies, adopted it immediately. For them, it was money. The post office offered discounts for pre-sorted mail. If Reader's Digest sorted their magazines by zip code before dropping them off, they paid less postage. This was the birth of bulk mail as a science. But the zip code was not just about humans reading numbers. It was the foundation for the machine age. The 5-digit code was designed to be read by the optical character reader, or OCR. In the mid-1960s, the first true robot sorters arrived. These were massive mainframes with optical scanners. They looked for the block of numbers at the bottom of the address. If the machine saw 90210, it didn't need to read Beverly Hills. It just sent the letter to the 9 bin, then the 0 bin, and so on. This changed the sound of the post office. Gone was the thump-thump of the hand stamp. Now the sound was a high-pitched whir and click, click, click. The belts moved at 60 miles per hour. The letters became a blur of white. The zip code allowed the post office to handle the volume that would have otherwise crushed it. By the late 1960s, the Chicago Jam occurred, a catastrophic breakdown where mail stopped moving for weeks, precisely because the facility wasn't fully automated yet. It was the proof that the old way was dead. The zip code was the only raft in the storm. But the zip code did something else, something unintended. It changed the way Americans thought about place. Before 1963, a community was defined by its name: Georgetown, Harlem, the North Side. After 1963, a community was defined by its number. The number became a status symbol. Living in 10021, Upper East Side, New York, meant you were lovely. Living in 90210, Beverly Hills, meant you were famous. Living in 20001 meant you were in the seat of power, D.C. Real estate agents began to sell houses based on the zip. Insurance companies began to set rates based on the zip. Marketers began to target ads based on the demographics of the zip. The zoning improvement plan, designed only to move envelopes, became the primary way the government and corporations organized the American population. It was the first step toward the big data world we live in today. Let us look closely at the Mr. Zip legacy. By the 1970s, Mr. Zip was phased out. The public had learned the lesson. Using the code was no longer a novelty, it was a reflex. But for a decade, that stick figure was the friendly face of a massive government infrastructure project. He smoothed the transition from the personal, the village postman, to the digital, the sorting machine. There is a wonderful detail about the end of Mr. Zip. When the post office eventually retired him, there was a genuine public outcry. People missed him. He had appeared on lunchboxes, toy trucks, and jewelry. He was a symbol of a time when the government tried to solve big problems with a smile. Now, let us imagine the night shift in a sectional center facility in 1965. The floor is the size of a football field. It is bathed in fluorescent light. The machines are running. Zip, zip, zip. A letter enters the scanner. The eye reads the code, 60609. Electronic synapses fire. A gate opens. The letter shoots down a chute. It lands in a tray marked Chicago Stockyards. There is no human hand touching it. There is no memory involved. It is pure logic. The worker standing by the machine watches the flow. He is tired, but he is not frantic. The mountain of mail is moving. The jam is clearing. The zip code brought a mathematical calm to the chaos of communication. As you prepare to sleep, visualize the map of the United States in your mind. But do not see the state lines. Do not see the rivers. See the numbers. See the 0 glowing softly over New England. See the 1 lighting up New York. See the numbers flowing like a gentle wave across the plains. The 5, the 6, the 7, crossing the Rockies, the 8, and finally the 9 resting on the shores of the Pacific. The entire country is gridded, sorted, and organized. Every house has a number. Every person has a place. There is a great comfort in this order. No matter where you are, no matter how small your town, there is a 5-digit code that connects you to the rest of the world. You are not lost. You are located. Mr. Zip is speeding your dreams to their destination.